Okay, now we're going to tackle compound inequalities. And compound inequalities, you're going to have two situations. It'll either be an and usually when it's an and statement, one graph will be going that way, and then another will be going that way. And where the two agree, hence the word and, that's the solution set. Now, on the equation where, in the situation where you have an and statement, but instead of overlapping, they go in opposite directions. Well, if this is true, that can't be true. There's no agreement. They don't agree. Then you would have a no solution. So if you have a compound statement that's an and statement and they end up going in opposite directions, then that happens to be a no solution. All right, so the and statement. See this piece right there? That piece is going to go to that equation, and that piece is going to go to that equation. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 13 is less than m plus 9, and we have m plus 9 is less than 14. Well, we want to get the m by itself. So on both sides, because of the additive equality property, we're going to subtract 9 both sides. 13 subtract 9 is 4. That's a less than, not an equal sign, just a less than. So that means that m, we have to read it starting with the variable, and since this is the bigger side of the inequality, this is m is greater than 4, meaning all of the m's are going to be bigger than 4. So normally you would put a hollow dot, but because we're going to do interval notation, let me show you a little trick. What this means in interval notation is not touching 4, that's why it's a parentheses and not a square bracket. And then positive infinity, this describes this solution set right there. Okay, so instead of putting a hollow dot, I'm going to put an open parentheses, and I'm going to shade that way. Okay, now I'm going to change ink, and we're going to solve this one. Again, we're going to subtract 9 both sides. M is less than 14 subtract 9, I think is 5. All right, so m is now all of the values less than 5. So what that means is all values less than 5 we'll keep going to the left of 5. Well, that's negative infinity. So negative infinity up to 5, but because there's not a solid line there, open parentheses. So at 5, I'm going to do that. And then see this small area where they overlap? That's the and part. That's the solution. So how you'd write it in solution set notation is, since this is the left, we would do this. We would put a union symbol, and then on the right side, that was 4 to positive infinity. This is the solution for that. All right, now we're going to do the or statement. And usually there's literally an or between two equations. Now, on or statements, or typically means one graph is going that way and one graph is going that way. It's either this or that. They're both not true. In the rare occasion where you have an or statement and they overlap, so this one is going that way and this one is going that way and they overlap each other, well, that's infinite solutions. So when it's an or statement and they overlap, infinite solutions is the correct answer. So let's get started. This one on the left, we're going to say a divides 6 is less than or equal to -1, or -3a is less than -3. Well, I'm glad that we used this one because then I can remind you about dividing or multiplying by a negative number and what that does. All right, so the one on the left over here, a divided by 6, well, the inverse of dividing 6 is multiplying 6. So now we have a is less than or equal to -6. That means a is all of the values smaller. Well, smaller than -6 is -infinity up to -6. And because that equal sign right there, we're going to put a square bracket. So I'm going to put a square bracket, and I'm going to shade that direction. This set right here and this right here mean the same thing. One is graphically and one is interval notation. All right, so over here, the inverse of multiplying -3 is dividing. And look at what happens when a negative divide negative is a positive. So this now becomes a, and when we divide on this side, a negative divide negative, we get +1. Both of these signs flipped. It went from negative on this side to positive. It went negative on this side to positive because the signs changed. The inequality sign also changes. And notice there's not an equal sign, so it's going to be an open bracket. This means this is all of the values starting at bigger than 1, and bigger than 1 heads off to positive infinity. All right, so an open parentheses there. And now either this or that is true. And then what we could do is I could actually move these things closer to each other and put a union symbol between those. It's kind of a flat looking U. There you go. All right, that's it for this one.